If you want your drawings to improve quickly, getting control of your values is the key. In this video, I'm going to go over several drills, techniques, and variations that you can use to improve your learning. What's up? Timothy Jan here. I'm a draftsman, painter, and a teacher, making videos to help improve your artwork. Before we get started, I'd like to share with you one of my current apprentices. His name is Maduka. He's studying with me here in Sri Lanka. I really marvel at his work ethic, and I just wanted to share with you his incredible artwork and the progress that he's making. Check him out on Instagram so you can track along his progress. Let's learn something.
Value.
The word value in art can be looked at in two ways. We're going to go over the technical aspect of it as it relates to color and light. The other use of value refers to the sentimental, cultural, and ritualistic of an artwork. That's completely subjective and not something we're going to go over in this video.
Value is one of the 7 elements of art. They also include line, shape, space, form, texture, and color. The value in art is a quality of light and dark, or a certain shade or tone. This art element is best understood if visualized as a scale or a gradient.
For many, value in art is more important than color. It's the one element in art that if you make the improvement over it, your artworks are going to make the biggest jump forward in quality and confidence. Value in art helps to create the illusion of mass and volume. It's also crucial for the creation of a dramatic effect, and of the focal point within the piece. One thing to keep in mind when drawing realism is that you're attempting to show the illusion of form, depth, texture, as well as light and depth.
Value chart. The common exercise artists learn in art school is a value chart. In this demo of a value chart, I'm going to attempt to lay the graphite down consistently and evenly across the area of the box. Commonly, we see charts in pencil that range from as small as 2 to 3 values all the way up to 10 values. The values in the chart should represent the full range of values your pencil can make. If you have never done a chart like this, I would strongly recommend you take some time and try one. Cleanliness matters. When you attempt a simple exercise like this, use them as an opportunity to develop and build good working habits. Avoid fluxes in value, changes in application process, and fingerprints. Now note, you should experiment. Use an old paper or scratch paper to test out and experiment different application techniques. When you're first learning about any medium, you should intelligently experiment and observe what it can do to faster learn about its abilities and limitations. Pressure scale. One of the best exercises that you can do to improve your value as well as your control is a pressure scale. The objective of this exercise is to understand pressure and value and their interaction. When doing this exercise, your goal is to use pressure to extract all of the values out of your pencil in one unbroken application. Starting with the darkest value that you can make, work your way continuously down the scale without removing your pencil from the page. Avoid stopping and going back to fix mistakes. You can also do this exercise in reverse, going from the lightest value and building all the way to the darkest. Tips. Avoid caps. These large jump in value are caused by releasing the pressure on the point too quickly. Another common error is creating a tornado. This is caused by an association with smaller strokes and lighter pressure. Once you are aware you're doing this, you can correct this by forcing yourself to maintain the thickness of the scale from top to bottom. Ways of making value. Application of skill. There are many different techniques of applying value in a drawing, such as using hatching, cross-hatching, directional, and stippling. I am going to demonstrate some, but the more that you experiment and reverse engineer the drawings of the artists you most admire, in the end you will be able to find a technique that will best fit your objectives. In the comments, let me know your favorite technique. Hatching. Hatching uses parallel lines to represent value. Depending on how close or far away the lines are to each other, the value will appear lighter or darker. Tips for learning this technique. The common mistake artists make when using this technique is rushing. To improve at this, you can practice laying down lines at a consistent distance to one another, as well as work to improve your overall concentration when you are working. After you feel more confident laying your lines down, build a small value scale to be able to see the values at your disposal. If you make an error, keep going. They do happen. Over time and practice, your application will become more consistent. Loss of concentration can really be an enemy to you with this technique. Attempt to fully concentrate when you're placing your marks down, and be very clear about the direction that they should be heading. To make this technique more dynamic, you can use a line that goes from thick to thin. This can be done by building the end of the line, or by placing a tight oval and extending out from it. We can apply this technique to planes. Planes happen when a form turns. Forms that belong to a single plane share similar values. Planes will help you create dimension. Keeping values together in a plane is how an artist creates dimension on a flat surface. After laying out a form and determining the direction of the light, lay in the shadow planes. We can use our hatching to show how fast or slow the plane is turning. Cross-hatching. While similar to hatching, cross-hatching gives you the opportunity to use layers to affect your values. Patience is required to do this successfully. The overall consistency of stroke as well as the directions affect the look of the drawing. When you start a drawing that's going to be rendered using cross-hatching, set the limits of how the values you're placing down are going to be executed. You can do this on a scratch piece of paper next to your drawing. You have to have a plan. Avoid getting in the middle of a drawing only to realize that the value range that you started with does not allow you to represent the values you intended. You may have to simplify values together in some places by grouping them together. If cross-hatching and hatching really interests you, check out Bernie Wrightson's work. He developed an outstanding style and has a very broad range in value application techniques. Variation of the direction of the marks. While the two previous techniques relied heavily on consistent marks and direction, an alternative is a multi-directional technique. When I'm looking for a more sketchy finish, this technique fits more intuitively with me. Paul Klee was excellent at this technique. The drawings are really beautiful and you can easily get lost in his technique. When finished, they look like a mosaic of value blocks. While this technique is a bit looser and forgiving, you still have to have a clear plan and stick to a fairly consistent application for the best results, as too much variation can be a little bit distracting for the overall finish. Andrew Loomis combined pressure control with direction variation to a great effect in his work. If you begin to get a higher level of pressure control with your marks, this technique can be a lot of fun to experiment with. The chiseled tip technique. Using fairly hard pressure, you can apply a fairly firm and definitive stroke with a point that is worn down. Each pencil is sharpened and then worn down to a flattened tip. Ernie Watson was best known for this. With this flat ridge on the pencil, you can build a section of value. Then you can slightly change the direction and build up a value next to it. If the value reads consistently, the planes will hold true just like they did with hatching. Stippling. Stippling is more commonly seen as a pen and ink technique. This is accomplished by using small dots to create a value. To make areas darker, add more dots. Practice making consistent marks. To create a progression of value or a gradient, work light to dark. This will give you a little bit more forgiveness with your drawing. To protect your pen, avoid pressing hard. The tool will do most of the work for you. The technique will work more efficiently with consistent application. The consistent application avoids unintended changes in the underlying form. When this goes awry, this will look like a buildup of dots that no longer relate to the planes you're representing. You can use the grouping of dots to represent a texture. So if you're out of control in an area, you may be suggesting a texture or form that you did not intend. As you're building the value and you want it to get darker, you're getting rid of the white space. The contrast between the two values make the combined area read as a specific value. This technique is time-consuming, but it can make beautiful drawings. Check out this playlist here for further techniques. See you in the next video.